So I'm joined on the lockdown by Benetton Treviso, and Italy legend Ian Mckinley. How are you, mate?
I'm good, Jim. How are you?
How do I look, mate?
You look beautiful.
Mate, you do too.
Uh,
How's things out there then, mate? Because how long have you been on lockdown for?
yeah, a week. Probably today is a week now since we got the message from the Prime Minister. So it's been surreal and crazy. And you go out into the streets and literally there's no one around. It's bizarre.
But just talk to me about what's gone on over there then, because there's a bit on the news here. All I'm seeing in Italy is people on the balconies playing the trumpet and stuff of the good things, which is nice. You're smiling, but you're also seeing that people are dying left, right, and centre. Is that the case? Are we getting the full picture over here? Just talk to me about what it's like
Yeah,
from
yeah.
your
So
side.
yeah, the area that I'm in is a region called Veneto, so that would be one of the regions close to where the outbreak has been the most. So we're about sort of 3 hours away, and yeah, I mean, you see, as you said, you see the videos of goodwill and all that sort of stuff, but at the same time, over 30,000 people have contracted the disease, and over 3,000 deaths. So it is pretty serious, and people are taking it very seriously over here. Really, the 1 meter distance rule in shops is been followed through with, and people are literally not going out. The only couple of reasons that you can go out is for shopping or walking your dog. Italians love their dogs, and you're allowed to walk them. So I don't know how people are dealing with kids, in apartments if they've no garden or anything. It must be extremely difficult, but people are just getting through it. But it is pretty tricky. It's difficult.
So, if have you got children?
No, no, just have the dog. Luckily enough, so we're allowed to go outside. If it wasn't for her, I don't know what we do because we live on the fifth floor of an apartment block. So I don't know what we would do.
So what do they do? So you're out there with a dog, and is there military patrolling the streets?
Yeah, you hear ambulances every 2 seconds. It's actually kind of eerie. There hasn't been that many police, but because there hasn't been that many people walking around, so for example, if you do go in the car, you have to have a certain certificate to say why you are out and about. So if you're obviously working, the police officers will ring the place of work and say, is this a good reason that you're out? And they would say yes or no. So with Benetton, we had these last week to go to the gym, but at the moment, you just can't. You can't go out.
Matt, I'll come on to some of the training stuff and what you're doing. But what are the other lads doing? So
Mm.
if they've got kids, I mean, you're on the WhatsApp chat. What are the other lads saying
Yeah,
who have got kids and they're in apartments? Because if you can go out and walk your dog, can you not go out and walk your
yeah,
kids?
yeah. I mean, it's a tricky one. So I mean, some of the foreign guys here have managed to get home. So whether it was back in Ireland or South Africa, they managed to get out. But yeah, there's a few guys that they're lucky that they have maybe a terrace on the top floor of the apartment block or something like that, and that's the only refuge that they get. So as I said, if you if you don't have that, I don't know how they are coping. Like we've got a mixture of old people and young families in our apartment block here, and old people are not. I mean, we haven't seen them. Like literally, they are not moving. And then, like even yesterday, myself and my wife, we were downstairs because we're lucky enough to have a little small little grass area, and there the kids can at least run around for half an hour just to try and use up some energy. But I mean, it's not, it's not the same, but at least it's something.
And is there anything in the news there? Because Matt, I don't know if you've seen the news over there, but here you've got, I'd say, I don't know what the numbers are. You've got a load of people taking it seriously, like we're taking it seriously. We're in self isolation
Hmm.
because one of the kids came home from nursery on Monday with a high
Hmm.
temperature, coughing. Do they have
Hmm.
coronavirus? Who knows? I absolutely no idea. You hope not, or maybe you hope so.
Hmm.
And you hope to get it,
Hmm.
and we're and we're contagious and we can get through it. But it's the unknown. But you have the other half of people, maybe more than half, in London. They're just literally going about their business as and would like they don't give a shit. St. Paddy's Day,
Hmm.
there's videos gone viral online of up in Liverpool of people in the pubs celebrating, all young people obviously, but is everyone over there now taking it properly seriously?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, all you need to see is are the streets. Literally, no one. As I said, the rule of the 1 meter distance has been respected and all that. So, I mean, I think yeah. Even looking at, there was a huge amount of uproar with Cheltenham, and I think even Stereophonics were playing in Cardiff or in Wales, somewhere in Wales recently, and there's been a bit of uproar about that. So I think we would have been in that situation a couple of weeks ago, maybe a bit of arrogance going, oh, it's really not going to be that bad. And I probably would admit myself, I probably didn't take it as seriously as I should have. But then since last week, since last Wednesday, when the Prime Minister came on telly and just said, listen, we need to do this, it's been taken a lot more seriously. So, I'm sort of, it's funny, I was speaking to a reporter who said, do you feel like you're living in the future, because you're a week or 2 weeks ahead of the UK and Ireland, and it's funny because you're relating back all the information to your family and your friends and everything, telling them what to do, and it's like my parents now are living where we were, myself and my wife, a week ago now. So it is funny being able to sort of give them as much information as possible, trying to help out in the best way as you can.
And so where were you a week ago then? So what information are you giving back on them? Because we're not, so really the majority of the nation here isn't in lockdown or self-isolation. Apparently that's coming. We're at home,
Yeah,
we're lucky,
yeah,
we live out in the country, so, we're not in a built-up area, but Ireland are obviously in lockdown now. So what information are
yeah,
you giving from a week ago? What are you getting that could potentially
yeah.
help the millions of people watching this?
I hope the millions, Jim. Jeez. But yeah, I think to give a breakdown, I suppose, of where we were with Benetton. So we actually played a game two weekends ago in Newport, and so we played that on Friday evening, and then we got back to Italy on the Saturday, and we were told on the Saturday that you weren't allowed to leave your province. So, which kind of didn't make much sense, because you're like, well, you can fly internationally, but you can't leave your own province to go to another town 2 hours away in the car. So there was a bit of confusion about that. But literally, there's been a gradual closure of things. So gradual closure of schools, which happened on that Saturday to a Wednesday, and then on the Thursday, so this time last week, everything, restaurants, bars, coffee shops, you name it, churches. I mean, all services and everything completely closed down. So the only things that are left open are hospitals, pharmacies, and supermarkets.
And what do the supermarkets look like then? So do you get a time slot where you can go? Have they got milk and bread and the essentials there
Yeah.
still?
Yeah, so I was even speaking to my mum yesterday. She said in Ireland, the Lidl have given a 2 hour window for the elderly to go shopping, which I think my mum is availing of. Here, in fairness, there's been no panic buying. Yeah, there's queues outside, um, but people, luckily for B-days, Italians don't really use toilet paper, so there's a huge amount of that still in stock. But in fairness, the shops have been completely full of everything. We haven't gone excessive buying or anything like that. We're sticking to our one day a week of shopping. And in fairness, people have been pretty good with that.
And what are you doing to keep yourself entertained then? So if you are, you're locked up in an apartment, I know it's not like prison, and
Yeah, of course.
these are hard
Yeah, I
times.
mean,
What are you getting up to?
well, luckily the weather is so good here that we get a bit of sun for the majority of the day on the balcony. So when it's 20 degrees, you can just sit outside, which is something. Where if it was pissing with rain, cold and windy, it wouldn't be the best. So that's, I suppose, one positive. Um, we just try to get into a routine as quick as possible. So as I said, luckily we have the dogs. We wake up to walk her. We then do some exercise, and that hopefully brings us up to lunchtime. Then you have your lunch, and again avail of the sun. So you either read or you write something. My wife is currently doing a blog just about the situation, trying to give people as much information about it as possible, if that helps.
And where's the blog?
Yeah, she just has it on Facebook. So, so her name is Ian McKinley. So she, there's a lot of people from her town that will be interested as well, just reading it. So it's just, as my sibling said, this is history. So it's important to document these things, because it's been 100 years since something like this has happened. So we sort of have little milestones in the day that sort of bring you up to a certain time, and then I probably stupidly as well got a PlayStation off one of the lads on the team, which I haven't had since I was about 18. So that I'm not playing that a ridiculous amount, but a few hours here and there, it sort of occupies your time.
And what game are you on? Because RugbyPass is setting up a FIFA league. I don't know if you've heard through the grapevine.
Are they? Yeah, I need to actually. Well, I've no games. I can only download or buy them. But I got back into Tomb Raider, so
that's proper old school.
Croft, yeah. So
I'm gonna have to whip it out, man. I used to play Call of Duty with the lads. You had like team on team and stuff.
Yeah, no, they're big into Fortnite, but I'm really crap at those games. So FIFA's my call to, or my go-to, and if Jonah Logan Rugby was still around for PS4, I'd love to get my hands on that, but I think it's a bit tricky.
So I was talking to the RugbyPass team, so they're talking about now setting up a FIFA league amongst the rugby fraternity. And I said, well, why don't you get Jonah Lomu out? I said, Jonah Lomu, you got Slight Home on the wing, I'm carving up. And they're basically saying, but the with the PS4, I think that's what it is. I sound like I know what I'm talking about. I don't. There's a function on there where you can actually record the game, and then you can stream it, and then you can upload it, and etc. etc. We're working through the technicalities as we speak.
Well, I like the sound of it, and but I suppose the person who would know how to do all that, I suppose, on our team would be Dean Budd, so he'd be the person I'd ask for that. But if there is a chance of getting involved in a General Loma tournament, I would love to.
Mate, we will, mate. I've said to RugbyPass, if you put £1 million prize up for grabs, we'll get a lot more interaction. So I don't think the state of the world that we're in at the minute, they're happy to do that. So we're going to reassess.
No. I think we take €100 at this stage, or £100.
Mate, just coming on to that then. So what are the clubs saying? I know there's a load of other stuff going on. We get that people are dying, but just trying to stay away from that stuff and look at the day in day out of a professional athlete. So what are the lads saying? Are they sending training programs? Are they trying to stay positive? Is there an insight into anything that's going to happen? Is there rumours?
Yeah, I suppose they've been pretty good with their communication. I suppose our sporting director is in constant contact with the Pro 14. I mean, we've been given gym programs to do at home. So instead of doing a squat with a barbell, you're doing a squat with a stereo, or 10 books or plates or whatever you can get your hand on.
A tin of beans if you were me.
Say again?
A tin of beans if you were me. That's probably all I could spot.
Yeah. I think guys are doing a lot of CrossFit, to be honest, just using your body as much as you can. But obviously it's very difficult to keep up any sort of form of fitness unless you have a little area to run around. But no, I must say Benetton have been pretty good. The doctor has rung each player individually. Coaches have written to say, you and your family, are they okay? So I think that they're in as an awkward situation as anyone else. There's literally no idea when games will be. There's talk of the Six Nations, the 2 games that Italy lost, one in June and one in October. But these are all rumours. I think there's so much uncertainty at the moment. People can't give proper answers.
And what was the situation around the last game of the Six Nations? Because I was hearing that it was going to be Parise's swan song. I suppose you can maybe say that now. I know the Guinness Six Nations have posted out a few kind of videos in honour of what he's done. But I mean, I know he missed during the World Cup. There was that situation as well. And again, we all know there's the situation is very serious. But on a rugby sense, was it going to be Parise's last game? And was that the kind of whispers around?
Yeah, I mean, I think he must be the most unlucky person in rugby at the moment. I mean, you can't predict these things. So no, I mean, I wasn't involved with the Six Nations this year, so I mean, I don't really know the ins and outs of whether it would have been his last game or not. So I think it would have been a sort of perfect situation for him maybe to bow out if it was to be. So again, we'll see what happens, because I mean, if the championships are finishing up, it's a good sabbatical for players as well, so they might have a good rest, and the body might feel in those 4 or 5 months off, and the body might be good. So you might see players going on for another season that we're thinking of maybe hanging up the boots. So we'll see.
And anyone over there that you know that have contracted this virus? Is there talk about, because I think it's difficult, isn't it? I mentioned my daughter. She's 2 years old. She's had a cough, a repeated cough, a temperature, laboured breathing. My son, they're twins, had a respiratory issue when he was born, so we were worried about him. The other two kids are coughing because that's what kids do. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, have I got to, you start not panicking, but you start overthinking every single symptom. But have the lads said anything? Is anyone showing symptoms, or has anything been recorded there?
No, funnily enough, with all the cases and being in northern Italy, where obviously the virus is at its highest, we haven't come across anyone that has anything, which is pretty fortunate. I mean, in the town that we live in Treviso, there's certainly been a lot of deaths. But I think the majority of the people that contracted it were people that were already in hospital, so a lot of doctors and nurses got it and things like that. But as you say, you do worry. Like, my sister has asthma, and my dad's a pretty big smoker as well. So, they're the sort of things as well that they say that don't, that the virus sort of, attacks sort of people like that. So those sort of things you do worry about. Of course, it's only human nature.
And you are a couple of weeks in front. I mean, is there any signs of the prognosis getting better, or is it still getting worse over there?
Yeah, so unfortunately yesterday was probably the worst day in Italy. It had the biggest spike, so over 450 people had died. So the problem doesn't seem to be getting any better. As you said, we're into week one of a 3-week process, but there are a huge amount of rumours going around that this won't be going away anytime soon, and I can't imagine. Again, as you said at the start, we're not experts on this, but I can't imagine going from a situation where we're living at 0%, going back to living 100%, where everything is just going to open again, and transport and restaurants are going to open freely. So I think this is going to take a while to get back.
Does it make you question being there? Like, are you wishing you were back in Ireland? Is there any of that, or do you feel like you are safe there, and the setup you've got is going to pull you through?
Yeah, I think a lot of people have asked me, would you not have gone home? But the simple answer is that this is my home, and Italy's healthcare system is one of the best in Europe. So we're pretty fortunate with that. And then the other thing is, we didn't want to necessarily bring the virus back with us to Ireland. I think that could have been the worst case scenario. So we just decided to stay here and stick through the hard time here in Italy. And if we did go back to Ireland, we'd probably be getting the worst of both worlds, where lockdown in Italy and then lockdown in Ireland. So no, we're happy in our own environment and our own surroundings. So yeah, it's tough, but you have to get through it.
And then more a question for me, because over here it is people that are older, that have got underlying health conditions, etc., etc. That's what we're hearing. But I think the kind of lockdown situation that you're in, that it's inevitable that we're going to go into, you start thinking, is there something more behind this in terms of younger people? Is there any talk of anyone younger, kids, that have died or in serious conditions around this coronavirus?
No, I think my wife told me a stat there, told me a fact, was that the average age, I think, is 78 of people dying in Italy. So it is, say again? 81, sorry, she's shouted to me there.
No, please.
Yeah, so I think Italy's got the second highest age profile in the world, so that's why it's also been attacked the way it is. But yeah, I mean, as I said, every precaution has been taken. The kids straight away from school, so that was one of the first things that was stopped. So I know in the UK that's been a bit slower, but that was the first thing that was stopped here. So, but in terms of really young people, there hasn't been any, as far as I'm aware. Again, I only read what I read in the newspapers or online. There hasn't been any cases.
Well, Ian, thank you for joining me on the lockdown. That's what we're calling it. Did you get it?
On the lockdown for RugbyPass.
The lockdown for RugbyPass. You're the first one, so I appreciate that. So stay safe. And
thank you, Jim.
Yeah, I'll follow the blog. And no, appreciate it, mate, because it's tough times for everyone.
Cheers, mate. Thanks a lot, Jim.
Cheers, buddy.